This segment's being sponsored by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Join us in preserving and protecting Tennessee's wildlife.
In the outdoor world that we all love, there are so many names to choose from and to follow. If I were to ask you, what is your favorite camouflage pattern? Chances are you just thought of a name. If I were to ask what's your favorite rifle or shotgun, you just thought of another name. How about your favorite boat or pickup truck? You just thought of a name. Names are important. My last name being Buffalo, you don't ever hear that. We are a small herd. But I take great pride in the history of my name. Names are significant. The Apostle Paul tells us in the book of Philippians chapter 2 that Jesus Christ humbled himself to take on the appearance of man, and he was obedient to death, even death on the cross. And because of this, God exalted him and gave him a name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee will bow in heaven, in earth, and under the earth, and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. In our world that we live in, there are many names to follow. It's our prayer that you follow the name and the person of Jesus Christ. And if you'd like to know more about this man named Jesus, we would be honored to share that with you. Reach out to us on our Facebook page at From the Blind Outdoors. Let us hear from you. And as always, keep shooting straight.
All right, welcome back, everybody. You guys can call in with your own questions or comments now. Give us a call at 615-737-7767. Again, that's 615-737-7767. Give us a call, and until then, we're just going to keep on talking about bass fishing and the Frostbite tournament. Dayton, you got a few baits sitting there in front of you tonight. What do you got those here?
I mean, there's a few things here. I brought us an Alabama rig to look at because a few people don't know what an Alabama rig is. And they come in 3 and 5 wires, and Tennessee allows only 3 hooks per lure. Now when you get to Alabama, you can have 5 hooks. Let me see where we at. Here we are. There's your Alabama rig. Now you can use different bait sizes, different heads, depending on where you're going. You can use different colors. You can dip and dye, whatever you want. We'll switch to a jig here. I've got a black and blue flipping jig. I don't know if they can zoom in on it.
And these are all things too. These are things that you use this time of year.
This is wintertime fishing. These are Alabama rigs, black and blue flipping jigs on bluff ends, big crock rack, you know, the cracks of the rocks and stuff. Then you got lipless crankbaits, red, silver and black, black and blue. All these baits are on every body of water we have right now. Whether you go to Gunnersville, Kentucky Lake Barkley, Pickwick, some people like bigger swim bait, stuff like that. You got a spinner bait, Reliable. That's a hoppy spinner bait. You can buy that over at Fate Sanders. You can get them online anywhere. 1/2 ounce Willow with a Colorado. Always put a trailer on it, give it a little more action, whether it be a small swim bait, whatever. And then you got your Strike Kings from a 1.0 to a 1.5. Red right now is a magic color on all your lakes. Chartreuse and red.
Now, that's a square bill on that.
That is a square bill.
So about how deep's that bait?
So this bait here will run 3 to 5. So they make them from 1.0 Strike King does to a 2.5 and whatever to bigger. That'll go from 2 foot to 25 foot.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get into a shallow running shad wrap.
I'm surprised you're showing people your secret shad
Well,
wrap
it's
there.
not how you use it. You can throw it all day long. It's where you throw it.
Yeah, right.
You can go all day long and not get a bite. It's how you use it. Number 7, shallow runner. Always put a ring on your crankbaits. A lot of them come without rings on them. You have got to put a ring on that crankbait. You cannot tie it directly to the wire. It does not work.
Have the same.
It does not have the same movement. It does not work right at all. And then we got a number 5 deep diver. It's still got some line tied on it. I actually just bit it off my rod before I got here. And this baits, I usually throw it on 6 and 8, no bigger than 10, spinning reel only. You can't really throw it on a crankbait. Right. Number 5s, shallow runners, and number 7s, I do throw on a bait caster. People are like, how do you do that? It's just years experience.
Set them light.
And then you got your little old whopper plopper. And they make them in all different sizes. It's a little early for top water. You might get a couple of bites on it right now. If you do, they'll be bigger fish. So It's just kind of, I wouldn't throw it a whole lot. You know what I mean? Not yet.
hold back on that.
I'd wait a little
Especially
while.
this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets warm and they're real shallow and the shad are flicking, don't even just throw that. Leave it in the truck.
We
You know
got
what
a
I'm
call
saying?
here. Let's see. Who do we have on one? Monty, how are you doing tonight?
I'm okay. I don't mean to take y'all's subject y'all talking about,
Oh, no problem.
but I just want to ask y'all what your thoughts are. I live way out here on the plateau, high elevation, a lot of mountains and bluffs, and way out from the nearest house. And out here where I'm at, the deer are wild. I mean, they are real spooky and wild. But then I go down the road a couple of miles, and even in the farther Coolful, and I call them the city deer. Just what are y'all's thoughts toward them city deer and the deer that run these mountains out here?
Well, they have a completely different response system. Basically, the deer that are in the city areas they're more adaptive to people, to vehicles, to the smells around the city, and having people approach
And the
them,
lights at night.
The lighting, they're just more used to that. Whereas when you get out somewhere where you live, where they're so wild, they have a flight reaction to just about everything, because they're more used to a predator approaching them there, or something like that, a hunter, a predator, something that would be after them. They're not as used to seeing somebody just walking their dog down the sidewalk. So what they do is they just kind of adapt, just like a dog would, or anything else. You know, a dog that doesn't have any human interaction versus one that does. So that's what it is. I mean, they're the same deer, nothing different about them at all. They have just adapted to humans around them.
And
So
that's the same as all animals.
exactly.
right.
So
You know,
so if you're hunting in the city, and you're not really supposed to have any projectiles in some city limits, so you have to check your regulations. So those deer will be more tame. They're not going to run off as
right.
much as in wild.
Well, we hope that helps you. Thank you for calling.
Well, thank you for your answer.
Have a great night. Who's that? Arden, how are you doing tonight? Arden? How are you tonight? Who we got on 3? I don't know if we need to answer Mr. Gary
Golly.
Taylor or not. How you doing tonight, Gary
we
Taylor?
go.
What y'all doing?
Oh no!
I was just sitting here.
Hey, Dayton, you still using 80-pound braid on your shad rail?
You dang right. That way I can straighten the hooks out on
He don't want to lose
dang
one.
it.
Dang it, boy, get the net.
Yeah, get the net.
You gonna be
Don't
out there
do
fishing
that.
with us Saturday, Gary?
No, I got to work Saturday, but the next Saturday I'm gonna be loose. I wanted to. I think Matt might be.
Well, good.
He
Well,
just had a new baby, so I don't know whether he will or not.
well, I got a partner that don't know that much about what's going on. What do we need to be throwing this weekend?
Gary in the lake.
I don't know. I ain't been out there. You
Yeah.
can take Dayton Blair out there with a shad wrap or a jig, and you'll have a boat full of fish.
That's what I
Golly.
like to hear. That's who I got with me, so I guess I'll be all right.
Gary Taylor's a
Y'all
real
fish
good
this
friend of
weekend?
Yeah,
Gary Taylor's a real good friend of mine. I've known him my whole life. He's a great guy.
he is.
He just you gotta help him try to catch fish and get his backlashes out and stuff.
He taught me a lot. He got me started. I don't know whether to like him for that or hate him.
Well, that's kind
I'll see you
of
guys.
all right.
Have a good night, Gary. Raymond, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, pretty good. That line conditioner y'all got, I was putting line on 2 poles this weekend, and one of them line went on real good, and the second one, I run out of line on that spool, and the second one I used a different spool, and the line was tangled like crazy. Would that
That-
line conditioner help you?
It will, but you got a certain way that line goes on spinning reels. You have to kind of watch that.
Once it forward.
And Then you got bait casters. Don't matter how you put it on a bait caster. It can come off the top, the bottom, the side. A bait caster will not kink up. Eventually it'll level out. But on your spinning reels, you have got to make sure it goes on the right way. And each spool is different. It don't come off the bottom straight every time. It don't come off the top straight every time. It's all wound up. So what you do is here's what I do. I'll put my spool of line in a 5-gallon bucket of water. Don't put it on a pencil. Don't put it on a stick or nothing. Just lay it in a bucket of water, and as you wind it, that spool will rotate and keep the line wet. The line's dry and it restores memory, and that's what this stuff is for, to take the memory out of line.
Okay, good. And when you're fishing on the bank fishing, how far you normally keep your boat off the bank?
So if I'm fishing in my bass boat, depending on what location, my trolling motor most of the time's hung up on a rock, because that's how shallow I fish. Now, if I'm on steeper incline banks and I can parallel a little bit more, or come up on some structure that you can flip, so you just don't really go up one bank with one bait, because if I'm throwing my shad wrap and I see a stump under the water, I'm going to throw that shad wrap by it, but I'm also going to pick that jig up and flip by it, and I'm going to grab that spinner bait. He might not want the shad wrap or the spinner bait, but he'll get the jig. Might not want the jig or the shad wrap and hit the spinner bait. So it's just kind of a go by go and fish, you know.
And also it depends on what the water levels are.
Yeah.
If the water's up 2 or 3 feet, then the bank is going to be up a little closer. And if the fish are not biting, you might want to pull out a little bit and kind of figure out where the original bank is.
Right. And I like to be parallel too, which you kind of hit on.
Well, you get
I'd rather be further out fishing parallel with the bank when I can. I'd rather be casting there rather than here.
Right.
You just cover more
And
water that
steeper
way.
banks, you know, steeper banks, when the water, here's the big deal about rising water. When water goes up, fish will get to the steeper banks because they're going to relate better. If you get on a shallower bank, they'll kind of get away from you a little bit. They're a little bit further back, shallower than based up on right there on the river channel or a steeper bank.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
appreciate y'all.
I hope that helps. Have a great night. Thank you for calling.
You too.
Wayne, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Wayne Bobbin, how you doing, Robert?
Hey, buddy, how you doing? You fishing Saturday?
Doing good. Yeah, I can't wait till Saturday to get over and freeze to death with y'all.
Well, hopefully it won't be that bad. If you get too cold, you can come in the restaurant and get you something to eat.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
I said, you do call it a frostbite for a reason.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hey, I
Exactly.
got a question. What's going on with the lower end of the lake? Is that lake turning over? What's going on
Absolutely.
down there?
Absolutely. I was there all day today. It is turning over. The lower end is, Wayne.
What's causing that this early?
It's unseasonably warm. The water temperatures are warm enough that it's already done. I mean, with the lake's not froze over. We haven't had water temperatures drop below 45 degrees.
Right.
In most areas. You might find some 46, but I've hooked moss. Moss are growing on the rocks, so it's not far away from really getting right. We just got to stop having the rain, like
That's right.
PB said, and get these water levels stable.
Yeah, I understand. And now that's just lower end. I haven't been mid-lake.
Now, mid-lake around Longhunter's trying to do it lightly, but upper end's fine and dandy. It's just dirty, and, you know, they're pulling water, but they've stopped now. So the back of your creeks are clear, and the lower end's dirty, though, now. The lower end's a little dirty.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, you saved me a biscuit and egg.
Oh, they should have plenty of them.
You may have to pay for it for me, because I ain't got much money after I pay you that big entry fee.
Well, you know
All
what?
right.
I'll put a little money in my pocket for you, okay?
All right, guys. We'll see y'all Saturday.
Thank you for calling. All right, guys, a lot of great calls tonight. We appreciate that. We're going to go on over and do this week's tip of the week. This week's tip of the week is brought to you by our friends over at Phoenix Custom Quality Rods. You guys can check them out at phoenixrods.com or right here in the state of Tennessee. Give Mr. Jim Brewer a call at 931-213-1455. All right, PB, you got a little something for us tonight.
Oh man, Wayne kind of led me right into what I'm going to talk about tonight. Talk about tipping. It is the tip of the week, but tipping is important. Those fine staff that they got out at Faith Sanders, you know, they depend on tips for their livelihood. And as we know, fishermen could be kind of on the cheap side when it comes to tipping. So if you guys and girls out there fishing, when you get ready to order some food, you know, always have a little money on the side to give those people tips. It's very important. They need it. They really do.
Well, they
That's
take
like
good
tip of the
care of
week.
everybody, I'll tell you that much. So
Yes, they sure
y'all won't
do.
want for anything when you're down there, I guarantee you. Well, guys, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we got Tom Courtney in the house with a recipe for y'all and some more Southern Woods and Waters.